everybody. Welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored. And today at the table, I'm taking a look at Hostage Negotiator. The fate of the innocent is in your hands. This is by Van Ryder. I almost said Van Wilder. Van Ryder Games. And it is a solo game for one player, 15 to 30 minutes, 15 and up. And you step into the um, unfortunate shoes of a hostage negotiator. Things are tough. People being held hostage. Some crazy lunatic is holding them somewhere, and it is your job to get them out safely if you can, and try to resolve the situation either by the death of the uh, person, the abductor in this case, who is holding people hostage, or their sweet surrender if possible. Um, I really back in the I don't know when the movie came out, 90s, late 90s. The Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson. Really enjoyed that movie. It was very tense. Enjoyed the plot twist with Kevin Spacey in there, and I'm not going to even bother saying spoiler alert because it's such an old movie. Some of you may not even know what it is, but it was a good movie, and when I came across this game, I thought, oh, it had a lot of nostalgic take back to that movie, and I thought, hey, how neat would it be to be a hostage negotiator? I wasn't sure what to expect of it because it's mostly card-driven game, but I thought the idea was interesting. I think Van Ryder Games also publishes another popular series called Final Girl, which you are, and I could be very, very wrong. You are sort of in the shoes of a escapee trying to get away from some kind of I don't know Halloween, Jason, Freddy Krueger type of person. And there's like a whole series. It's a big following. I never got into it, but I am aware of its existence, and I'm not sure if Hostage Negotiator was the predecessor before Final Girl. I think it was. So a lot of people sort of favor Final Girl over Hostage Negotiator for, I guess, various improvements upon the mechanics, which I can't speak to because I've never played it. But in terms of theme wise, and no IP here, but just the theme, uh, the idea of being a hostage negotiator, trying to de escalate a situation, uh, seemed appealing. And I picked up the box. And one of the things that I think there were a lot of comments on in terms of reviews said it was a good game, interesting, unfortunate with a few components, which I'll not components, but mechanics, which I'll get to in a minute. But I think one of the biggest things was it's a small box, and content-wise, I keep on reading that hey, you need to get more content because the core box comes with I think three abductors and a handful of what I'll show you are conversation cards to help navigate your way to hopefully success in terms of your negotiation. But once you get past the three abductors in the game, it kind of then I think takes a steep decline. And there are quite a various expansions out there, as well as I think it's hostage negotiator career, where you sort of have a campaign. I'm going to call it campaign. Your actions and your decisions and your outcomes uh, carry forward. And I think that was a highly praised expansion to this game. So just knowing me and knowing how I operate, I decided to get this box instead. Now, the front page actually shows the Crime Wave, which is the expansion box. But what this actually is the big boy that is the ultimate box, and it has everything on the inside, which includes the Crime Wave, the career, core game, every single expansion pack, which, if you haven't noticed, by the way, is unopened. And they're all here. I think there's like 11 of them, as well as all the promo cards, extra cards, organizing your all the cards, as well as extra dice and extra tokens that you need. So as if you haven't noticed here as well, for the hostage negotiator career, it's also sealed, unopened. Not intentional, just so happens to be that I haven't gotten around to opening the packs. I'm not the kind of guy that opens all the candy all at once. It's sort of a slow progression. If I feel like I'm happy with the core box and I feel like adding a little bit to it, I will. That's why I was, I sort of learned my lesson from the Kickstarter days with Marvel United. I just went all in on a whole bunch of things, and half of them haven't been opened yet because I'm still enjoying what I get out of the core box, and I haven't felt the need to open up the other ones yet. Could be lazy too. So, in any case, so this is the ultimate box, which includes everything, all the expansions up to the point of, I guess, the time that this was released. And uh, obviously, the reason I got it was mainly based on what I read in other people's comments, that it's helpful or it's beneficial to have the expansions. And given the price point of each expansion that you would need, as well, if you sort of totaled all of these expansions independently, you're better off just getting off the ultimate box, and that's what I did. And clearly, my ROI hasn't really ROI'd yet because haven't even opened up half these packages. So, but in the core box, you're gonna have just a sparing amount of cards. You're gonna have terror cards. Terror cards are the unfortunate things and events that can take place during your negotiation, but the bulk of it is your conversation cards. You'll start off with some basic cards. This is kind of like not deck building, deck crafting, card crafting, deck managing. I don't know. But you'll start off with some basic cards, and in these cards will allow you to do various things in your quote unquote negotiating. You earn a certain number of um, how do you say conversation points. These points will allow you to, I guess, upgrade or purchase additional stronger conversation cards, which allow you to do even more important things. And that could be de-escalating the situation, the threat level, if you want to call it that. It could also give you more conversation points so that you can spend on more cards. The initial phase that you go through is this conversation phase, and they will each have a varying effect. And I'll explain that once I do my playthrough. But you're going to have a handful of these different conversation cards to your disposal, and then each round you will have an opportunity based on the number of conversation points that you've earned to purchase those cards. And I mean purchase in a very loose sense because the way this game works, which I didn't realize because I clearly don't watch enough of the review videos, is that in one round you play whatever conversation cards you have. Then you can hold on to any conversation cards you have, and then you would have the ability to purchase new conversation cards. Anything that you've already spent or any cards that you've already played will go back into the available cards to purchase. So if you earned enough to buy a really good conversation card and during a round you play that conversation card will then end up back in the purchase pool. So you actually never hold on to it for the duration of your whole game. You are constantly recycling the cards you play back into the purchase pool. Unlike deck builders or card builders or deck builders, um, where once you've purchased a card, it's in your deck for the entirety of your game. So I thought that was really different, and I actually, for me, was kind of a frustrating point because you work so hard to gain those conversation points to get that one card that sniper take the shot, and then you lose it, assuming that you did not roll well. Yes, there are dice in this game, so rolling is a factor, and there is a huge luck factor with your successes. So, in any case, let's get back to this uh, situation here. After your conversation, you'll have an opportunity to spend, again, as I said, your conversation points in the hopes of earning uh, more better cards per se in terms of I'm going to call it the marketplace. That's the only term I know because of deck builders. And then after your spend phase, you will have the terror phase, which is from this deck, which can increase the threat level, can do bad things to you, you can lose conversation points, and so forth. One of the things I forgot to mention is when you are doing and playing these conversation cards, you are rolling dice for successes to get an outcome that you're hoping for. So I think that's sort of an important piece that I totally glazed over. Sorry about that. So when I choose to play, for example, this, it'll make more sense once I do my play. Um, but once I decide to play this card, small talk, I have three potential outcomes. I have if I get two successes, which is shown by these two stars in the shield, I will earn three conversation points. And if I only roll one success, I'll get only two. And if I get no successes or a complete failure, I only get +1. And this symbol indicates a conversation ends right away. In the back of the rule book, it'll tell you what all those various symbols mean. So it's a quick reference. And it's pretty straightforward. I've never had an issue with that. And also explains to you, and this is actually a really great quick reference. It also explains to you the results that you can get from a roll. And the dice that we're using are these dice. Your available dice to you is usually a standard 2, but you have the potential to either lose, as if the threat increases, you will lose the number of dice in your pool, but you also have the opportunity to decrease the threat level to the point where you might have a third or a fourth, or you might have cards or a conversation card that allows you to gain an extra dice. So you'll see that of all the sides, you've got three that are completely blank. You have a one success, you have another success, and then you have this one which shows two cards. And what this means is if you discard two cards from your hand, available cards, then this becomes a success. So when you're talking 1 and 3, right there, 1 and 3 on each die for a success. Actually, not even that. I would say you may want to keep your cards. So this is not does not always guarantee that you have the cards you need to discard or that you want to discard. So really, it's a 2 out of 6, so 1 out of 3 chance. Sorry, 1 out of 4 chance um, of a success. So it's pretty bad. 1 and 3, sorry, 1 and 3, as opposed to a 1 and 2. And I think a lot of people would say that that is kind of a frustrating point, and you have minimal ways to negate or mitigate bad rolls. So I think that's one of the comments that you'll see out there. Uh, and then as well in the box, you'll get your abductors. So you get three to choose from. Sorry, this is second command. He's a part of the setup. So you'll get uh, Arcane Masua, Edward Quinn, and Donna Scarborough. And they each have different characteristics. They have a particular number of hostages that they've taken, and as well as a starting threat level. And they will have special rules that you have to follow during the course of the game. And each one of them will come with their own major demand cards, as well as an escape demand. Uh, Not all of them do, but some, I think most of them do. And these are in play, which if you have the right, I guess, process of your conversation, you can uh, reveal of demand, and then if you want to, you can attempt to either give in to their demands or give them one of their demands in the hopes that you gain something out of it. Could buy you more time, could lower the threat, could give you more conversation points. So I think there's a lot of variability in the way that this game plays out. But after a handful of plays with this game, I find it actually quite challenging to successfully negotiate. I think in my, I don't know, I'm going to call it 8 gameplays, I think I've won 2. So the ratio is not very high. I don't think it's frustrating, but it is frustrating when you don't roll these dice uh, successfully. Or I guess in my case, I do have bad luck with dice rolls if you watch enough of my channel. So probably not the best for me, but it's okay. I still enjoy it. So anyways, that's just sort of a quick overview of what's in the box and what I got, why I got it. And I'm going to set the table up for a game of Hostage Negotiator. I will be right back. See you soon. All right, I'm back. I've got my table set up for a game of Hostage Negotiator. by Ryder Games. As you can see, I've got the table laid out, and I'll just quickly go through the layout setup. At the top part here, I have all the available conversation cards that I have at my disposal to purchase, assuming that I earn enough conversation points. Now, they're sorted by their cost, very similar to a deck builder. And as you can see, this one uh, has a cost of 4. That's why it's not focusing. There we go. Okay. And you'll see that it has a couple different options here. If depending on, I guess they call it the threat roll. If you decide to play this card, a bold lie, and you have 2 successes, you can decrease the threat by 3. You'll gain 1 conversation point. And if you only get 1 success, you can decrease the threat level by 1 and gain 1 conversation point. If you have all failure, you increase the threat level by 3. So this is sort of very similar, like, it's a bold lie. You take that chance, offer something or tell something to that abductor, and they believe you, then that's a great success. They kind of believe you, semi-success, and oh, you stuttered as you were saying it, and they flat out, are ready to execute someone. So in the cards here are laid out. They all have different various effects. And like I said, you'll be earning your conversation points to purchase. I'm going to use the quotations on this one, even though you can't really see me, but quotations, because you're not really purchasing it to keep, you're purchasing it for uh, use. And once it's used, it goes back into the purchase pool. Now, with the additional expansions, you will have a whole slew more of potential cards, possibly very powerful cards. I have yet to explore them, and they will be laid out in the same manner in terms of their cost value. Uh, I've divided them into their cost value as well as there are duplicates. So rather than sort through all the, cost 2 cards, I just have them all the dupes by cost and then laid out like that. I've decided to choose my abductor as Arcane Masua, and he has a few initial conditions here. He has a starting card, a starting major demand, and escape demand. There are 3 major demands that belong to him. You randomly choose one out of the 3, and there are a handful of escape demands. Again, you would choose one out of that handful, and I believe expansions add more escape demands, so you'll have quite a variety, and you can start to see where variety and expansions matter in this. I think for other deck builders, do you really need the expansions? Yeah, maybe depending on if there's additional characters. Living card games are like that, but you'll see here that given the amount that you have, it's nice to have at least a handful more expansions for that variety and for that, I guess, unknown factor. Just don't know what might happen. As part of standard setup for any of the abductors, there's a second in command, and that is depending on certain conditions. If I believe if you eliminate the abductor before you've reached the minimum number of hostages that you have to save. So I guess the important part here is to cover win and loss conditions. You lose if all the hostages are dead. And I'm just going to double check that I have the win-loss conditions right. You will lose immediately if any one of these occur. More than half of the hostages are killed, so my mistake. The abductor escapes, or you're unable to draw a terror card during the terror phase. And in order for you to win, you need to complete uh, uh, the full 3 uh, requirements, which is there are no hostages in the hostage pool. That's the starting pool. And at least half of the hostages are safe. So yes, the other half can die if you want them to. And then the third requirement is you either kill or capture the abductor. So those are the 3 conditions that you must meet in order to win. But you can certainly lose very quickly if any of those other 1 conditions happens and you're immediately a terrible negotiator. So you'll have. So I forgot to show that part of the core box comes with a board which lays out all the important information you need, where you lay out your cards. You'll have the hostage pool based on the abductor that you've chosen, and you'll have spaces to move the ones that you rescue, the ones that get executed, not to your fault, but just from you trying. You'll have your conversation point tracker, as well as a threat level, and the threat level also dictates the number of threat dice that you have in your pool. So obviously, as you are able to manage a low threat, you'll have 3 dice to your in your pool, and as you increase the threat, you can whittle down to 1. And card effects can also affect this as well. So your starting hand, you'll have 6 cards, and you know that they're starting hand because they have a cost of 0. When you play these cards, once they're played, they will also go into this pool, obviously at a cost of 0, so you're free to take them back the next round. I don't think there is a maximum hand size that you can have, depending on how many conversation points that you've earned to purchase. You can freely carry over cards into the next round. You do not have to play them all, but you can play them all if you choose to do so. I think in some situations, order matters, and depending what you hold on to and what you play, you may want to carry it to the next round with you. Um, the tarot cards, there are a handful of tarot cards. You choose 10 of them. So this is kind of like your round tracker, but there are effects that can increase and flip more tarot cards. At the very bottom, sorry. So of the stack of tarot cards, you choose 10 randomly, shuffle them, create your deck. And at the very bottom of the tarot deck, out of the, I think there's like 6 or something, pivotal event cards, you choose one randomly, and it's always at the bottom. By the time you reach this one, this is basically telling you have one final chance to either eliminate or basically meet those win conditions. So we'll put that right here. And the terror phase is where you would flip over one of those cards. You'll have a bunch of meeples to indicate your hostages. And I'm going to put all my meeples. Actually, I have to stand them up because this is not the biggest space. The ultimate box does come with a much larger board, but I've decided just to show you the smaller board and also for saving space on my video. And you have a conversation marker to keep track. It'll start at the starting point there, and it'll tell you here. Sorry, this is the starting threat level, which is level 4. So I will put this little meeple right here. Maybe I'll put that face down because you can see it. Not that it matters because he has no face. Okay, so you would start then right away with the conversation phase, and this is where you can play any number of cards from your hand. For each card you play, you get one chance to roll your threat dice to see what results you get. Okay. So let's just say I want to, I'm a typical hostage negotiator. I want to do some small talk. I want to earn some conversation points. Once you've ended the conversation, that's when you do the spend. So I'm gonna play unless the card says otherwise, and I think there's a special condition when you reach a certain phase. I forgot off the top of my head, but I'll get to that back in a second. But I'll play this one, small talk. And so I'm going to play this. And I'm going to take my 2 dice that I have in my threat pool or threat dice pool. I'm going to do a roll. And I get 1 success. Now, if this had landed to another success, that'd be great. I would earn 3 conversation points. If I had rolled this one, I could drop 2 cards out of my hand to change this into a success, but I didn't. So I'll consider this a 1 success, and on the card that I played, that allows me to gain 2 conversation points. So I'm going to do that. So that's 1 card played. Now, if I wanted to maybe try to uh, maybe take my chances and decrease the threat, not that it helps, but I certainly don't want it going too high. I'm going to try to play keep cool. So keep cool. If I get 2 successes, I'll be able to lower the threat, gain um, at most, gain at 1 conversation point. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to play this one. I'm going to take my 2 dice, and I'm going to roll, and I get no successes. So I get no successes. There's no opportunity here for me to re-roll. Although, if you look at one of the possible cards I can purchase through conversation points is an opportunity to re-roll 1 die if necessary. So this, as far as I've come across, and there might be different options in the expansions, this is the only one that helps you mitigate. So unfortunately, I failed, and as a result, I lose one conversation point. So not terribly risky, but not what I wanted. So I think I'm going to try small talk again. I have another one called small talk, and I'm going to play that. I'm going to take my 2 dice and roll. I get one success, so I'm going to gain 2 again. So now I'm at 3 conversation points, which I might be happy with. And I think I'm going to stop there. So at this point, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to hold on to these cards, the remaining cards I have. And I now go into the spend phase. I have 3 conversation points that I can spend. And I think I would like to take the this is what I meant, or what I meant to say was, and this allows me to re-roll a failed result. And I still have 2 points left, which I will spend on. I think I will go for just a few more minutes. So just a few more minutes gives me, if I get 2 successes, a +4 for conversation points, or 1 success +3 and a +1, or increase the threat 1. So I'm hoping for a double success. And obviously, if I fail, that doesn't do well for me. So I'm going to take this one. That goes down. Now, anything that you don't spend gets lost. So it's advantageous to you to try to spend all your conversation points. Conversation points do not carry over, but the threat level does. So once I'm done, anything that I've played, I will discard back into the pool for purchase. So I played Keep Cool and 2 Small Talks. They'll go there. On the next round, I'll be able to collect those 3 back because they're at 0 cost, in addition to purchasing any additional um, cards with my conversation points. So now we move into the threat phase, and we're going to draw and resolve one of these terror cards. So this terror card says, oh, lovely. I don't know why this is not focusing. I'm sorry, guys, if you can't read this, but it says discard half the remaining terror cards, rounded down, and then discard this card. You may instead discard 2 red terror cards and shuffle this card back with the remaining red terror cards. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to discard 2 terror cards. I'm not going to look at them, and I'm going to take this one and shuffle it back. The pivotal event card always stays at the bottom. I'm just going to give this a quick shuffle. Hopefully it doesn't come across there again. So I'm going to put that back there. I've lost 2 tarot cards. We are now back into the conversation phase. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try just a few more minutes. I'm going to play just a few more minutes. I'm going to roll 2 dice. I get no successes. So I'm going to immediately play after this threat roll to re-roll any single die. Okay. So I'm going to re-roll 1. Okay. So I get the double card, which obviously in this case I have to do it. I'm going to discard. I'm going to discard these 2 cards to change this into a success, which means this success gives me 3 conversation points, and well, can't even hold this straight. 3 conversation points, and I increase the threat level by 1. This is not good. So I'm going to play my last card, Keep Cool, and I'm going to roll, and I'm hopefully going to get at least 1 success. That one rolled off the table, and it is. I'm calling that a success. Do you believe me, guys? All right, I'll re-roll it. Here we go. Oh my god, another one fell off the table. There we go. Okay, so I got a double card, which means that I don't have any cards to discard, so I only get a single success, which means that I decrease threat by 1, and that's it. So I'm in my spend phase, and I'm taking a look, and I think I will attempt a minor extraction next time. So this is the minor extraction card. This will be the only card that I have right now that I've purchased, but I will be gaining 3 of my basic cards back into my hand. So I spent all 3, and I'm also going to take these cards back, Small Talk and Keep Cool. And then the ones that I just played, What Are Your Demands? They're going to go back here, just a few minutes. Sorry, just a few minutes was up here, and Keep Cool. And then this one goes back in its respective pile. And now we flip over a terror card. +1, I increase the threat by 1. And then at the very bottom, it says, if there are any unrevealed demands, you also increase by 1. So unfortunately, I have two unrevealed demands. One of the cards that I have in my basic set of cards is what are your demands? And this is where you have an opportunity to reveal a demand. So it is beneficial at some point to reveal it. So I'm going to increase it again. So now I'm at 6, very close to losing one of my threat dice. So we are back into the conversation phase. So as you can see, it's a very quick phase. There's not a lot of, I'm going to call downtime. I think the most is maybe figuring out what you want to do first. If your cards give you different options of decreasing the threat or maybe gaining conversation points, maybe you don't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter to you. You want to focus more on decreasing the threat level, or maybe you want to rescue hostages. So I'm going to try that right now. But as you can see, it moves very quickly. So I'm going to play this one, minor extraction. If I get 2 successes, I get to rescue 2 people. 1 success, I rescue 1 person. I increase the threat level, which would be really bad. And then if I fail, conversation ends and I kill a hostage. I'm going to take my chances. Minor extraction. I probably should have done keep cool first, but I'm not. Okay, so I'll take one of the hostage meeples and it's killed. If I if over half of the hostages, so in this case 4, are killed, I lose the game. So minor extraction did not work, and the conversation ends right there. So I have no ability to play any of my other cards, and because I haven't earned any conversation points, I can't buy any, but I can take back all the cost 0 ones, which are all my basics. So I'm going to take those ones back, and then we're moving straight into the threat phase. Sorry, the terror phase, and we'll flip, and another hostage gets killed. So we kill a hostage, and if any unrevealed demands, +1 to the threat level. So kill a hostage, and then increase the threat, which means I only have 1 threat die to roll. So we are back into the conversation. Very terrible, not doing well. I'm going to try to decrease the threat. So I'm going to try to play keep cool. Oh, sorry. This one goes back up here. If we have to do that, and I'm going to play keep cool. I'm going to roll my single die. Okay, I got a double card, so I will discard small talk. And what are your demands? I'm going to discard these 2 to gain 1 success. And with that success, I decrease the threat level by 1. So now I'm back to having 2 dice. I'm going to try to reveal a demand. So on 2 successes, I get to reveal a demand, and I get 2 conversation points. All right. As you can see, my negotiation skills are just as good as my poker face. So uh, I increased the threat level 1 because I failed that. But I'm I've got I'm just gonna keep on going. Small talk. I'm gonna try some small talk. Here we go. Oh, I only roll 1 die. Okay, unfortunately, it's a fail. So I gain 1 conversation point and I end the conversation right away because I don't have 2 cards to discard to turn this into a success. So with that single awesome conversation point I have, I'm going to take the what I meant was because I feel like that's what I'm doing right now. A lot of what I meant was. So we're going to put these ones back or put these up in the pool. Small talk, what are your demands, and keep cool. And that's it. It goes now into the terra phase. Terra phase +2. So I believe there's no consequence if you need to increase the threat level. No, I think there is. I think if you increase if you're at the maximum threat level and you have to go beyond it, you actually have to execute the hostages. If you were at the lowest threat level and you had to decrease it again, you would then rescue a hostage. I'm going to quickly just take a quick look at the rule book. I believe that was it. Yes, I am correct. If I'm at the maximum or at the highest threat level and a card or an effect requires me to increase that threat level, I will kill a hostage for every increase that is not achieved or cannot move past it. Conversely, if you are at the lowest threat level and you need to lower it again, you would then rescue a hostage. So I'm kind of screwed here because what happens now is because of this, I'm actually killing off two more hostages. Sorry, I'm increasing the threat by two, which I can't. So I'm killing off two more hostages, which now puts me at a point where I have more hostages killed, more than half. And that's it. I get fired from my job very swiftly by the FBI. Okay, there you go. So that is sort of a very quick and very swift and very painful example and demonstration of how this game is supposed to go. And I would say that at the beginning, most of my games went like exactly like this, except for bad draws. But I just had a difficult time managing the threat. And when you think about it, because these cards that you play really comes down to the roll and success of your dice. And because you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a success, relatively, that that makes it really tough. Um, and with minimal or limited ways to negate that um, that or mitigate that bad dice roll. I kind of feel like if house rule would be that maybe you always have one of these in your hand, despite the cost, because I feel like this is kind of like what do you call it? Your kick card or whatever it is in deck building, which it comes back into your hand. You don't lose it. It doesn't go back into the pool. It's just the one card that is kind of your safety net. I feel like I wouldn't put both in. I would at least start with maybe as a house rule, just one in your hand, and that way you have an. I mean, if you play it, it goes back into your hand. That's what I mean, and that you don't have to repurchase it because I feel like that helps balance really that 1 in 3 chance on these, especially when you have several factors going against you. When you have the tarot cards that can increase your threat level and then therefore decrease your threat die pool. So that's just a personal house rule. Not to say it's the one and only solution for you. If you roll great, then you have no problems. But for me, I have problems. So it's fairly quick paced. I would say on average, I can get through a game within 15 to 20 minutes as long as I don't have any type of analysis paralysis, which I don't think really happens that much. But I can show you, for example, if I had successfully revealed a demand, you can see that I have an option. If I concede by spending or paying the cost, I might gain something out of it. But at the same time, there is an ongoing effect or something ongoing that can happen, which creates problem. And in here, for this one, an escape demand, if you concede, you've basically given the guy the bless to leave. The abductor escapes at the end of the conversation. So what happens there? Well, what happens if he escapes? You basically, I think you've lost because that's one of your loss conditions. So you don't want to um, give into this demand until you are guaranteed that before your conversation ends, you can take him out. So it might seem really silly that they would even have this. Well, then you would say, of course, I'm not going to give into this demand. He's going to escape. But it's at the end of the conversation. At the end of the conversation is when he escapes. So you still have till the end of the conversations to play right this one, sniper, take the shot. In which case, you kill the abductor, you rescue, and you end the conversation. So the major demand here, as an example, you can see if you concede, you spend 4 conversation points to gain something. You may take any 2 cards from the available area into your hand without paying the cost. But then there's an ongoing effect because you've conceded. Anytime the threat level increases, increase it 1 additional time. And this stays in play. So there's a certain balance. Tarot cards are always bad, of course, but the demands, it could benefit you depending on what you concede to and depending how confident you are with the cards, conversation cards in your hand. With all the tarot cards, you take your chances, roll a threat. You either rescue or kill someone. You might have a moment of weakness and you get to rescue someone, increase the threat level, and so forth. So I think most of the tarot cards are very similar. I think very few give you, it's mostly luck if you are successful, but you'll get the one lucky chance to rescue a hostage, and that might inspire you to continue moving forward. And for example, the final pivotal event card, if that was the last um, terror phase and last card, this is your last chance. The effect here would be place your highest cost conversation card back in the available area with no effect. So that's kind of a penalty for dragging out this negotiation to the point where you have one final chance to do it. So there you go. This is Hostage Negotiator, a very brief playthrough. And as you can see, it has a lot of interesting components. I don't know how it compares to Final Girl. I don't even know if it plays the same as Final Girl, but I assume that people have made some comparisons, and you can see that it goes by quickly. The cards have quite a bit of variety. You have choices that you can make. You might want to try to build up. It's very hard, I find, to build up a high number of conversations to get this card, something like this, which is the cost is 8. And I find that incredibly challenging to get to simply for that fact of it's not easy to get those conversation points up. Mitigating bad rolls, very, very difficult. Again, unless you do my house rule. And I would say the overall experience is pretty tense when you start to have hostages dying or when the threat level increases. Any one of those things, or you're losing conversation points when you desperately need them. Um, I feel like there is an element of tension in this game, especially when I first started to play it. But then it quickly shifted to a little bit of frustration when I felt like I was on a good roll, or I have a plan, or I have an idea of how I maximize the conversation points I have, but then only to suffer at the fate of bad rolls, and then whatever hope and dreams I had get crushed by the sound of my own voice as I negotiate poorly. So hopefully that was of some benefit to you, and that you found the video helpful. Either if you're sitting on the fence thinking whether you should get this. Unfortunately, I can't speak on behalf of Final Girl, but I'm sure there are lots of videos out there that do some comparisons, and I don't know if it's something that's going to be on my shop list, because as of right now, Hostage Negotiator is sort of in right in that middle of the fence. I would bring it out every so often for something quick to play, easy to set up, easy takedown, and has some moments of tension, but I gotta tell you, this does not come to the table frequently enough to, first of all, maybe justify the cost of the ultimate box. That's for sure. So maybe just stick with the core box and maybe get one or two expansion packs, the small ones. They're not expensive at all, and then that probably adds just enough flavor to your games and randomness to keep it slightly fresh every time it comes to the table, if it comes to the table. Anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay bored.